So, this, I believe, all of us have a couple chosen cliches that we choose to let define our lives in some capacity. And if you give them enough attention or enough alcohol, generally people will tell you these cliches. Now, for the first 18 years of my life, mine was, you don't miss what you don't have. And the reason I had this was for two reasons. One, I had never met my father. And two, I was surrounded by the indolent children of suburban middle class who latched and coveted onto any perceived suffering they could and just wrapped themselves up in it to make them more interesting. And I hated them. I hated them. And I hated the attention they got. So I rebelled against them. And then I met Amber Wade. Amber Wade was a 6-foot-tall Amazon blonde volleyball player in my senior year of high school. And she had an electrocomplex on a Grecian scale. Now, the reason that's true and not mean is that she is right now very happily married to a 56-year-old man who is 4 years older than her father. I know. Now, when I met Amber, because I was in drama, we didn't have a lot in common, I was doing anything I could to have some parallel to her life. And her thing that she kept bringing up when we met was, I can't believe you've never wanted to track down your dad. I can't believe you haven't tried to find him. Now, I'm not going to say that I hadn't been curious, but this was the summer blonde hair that just broke the camel's back. So I started asking questions around my family. And my mom made it very clear from the beginning that she did not want me to find him. Her quote that always stuck in my mind was, I don't know why you'd want to go looking for a man who never sent you a birthday card in 18 years. But my grandmother was a woman of many opinions, and one of those was, a boy should meet his father. And she made that happen by always keeping a social security number of his in her back pocket, just for the day I ever got curious. So, through friends and family, we asked around, and eventually we run a credit check on that and track him down to Waukesha, Wisconsin. And as my grandmother had raised me, I was at her skirt hems watching Oprah from a very small age, so I knew exactly what to put in this letter. She had spelled it all out for me. So I wrote this very, nice, non-threatening letter saying, I'm not mad, I don't necessarily want a relationship, I'm just curious. And I sent it in the mail, and I went across the country. Now, I would find out years later that that letter would be opened by his new wife, Sandy, who had been told I was a miscarriage. I know. But to Sandy's undying credit, she gave my dad an option. She says, you go to San Diego and you meet your son, and maybe I won't divorce you. And he thought that was a good deal, and he did. So he flew out, and he was staying in a Motel 6 off Interstate 8, and I drove over to see him, and I found the hotel room door, and I knocked on it, and it opens, and I looked down to see my father for the first time. And I had never thought I had any expectations, but apparently I had, because this was not it. He was shorter and quiet and not personable and a chain smoker and a bit of an alcoholic. The only thing he said during the entire weekend he was down here that resembled a fatherly advice was, between a Minolta and a bottle of Jack Daniels, there's nothing a woman won't do. Kept that up here for college. But all in all, the meeting goes very well. Not a lot gets said, but that's fine, and he flies back to Waukesha. And I win. I get Amber Wade alone in my house with a bottle of vodka to celebrate me meeting my father. And as we're drinking, and she's as tall as I am, she can hold it in, and we're laughing, and we're down to our underwear, and then I blacked out. The first time in my life, gone to the world, with no recollection. And I woke up alone, still in my underwear, which is truly the most dignified way to wake up. And I called her and I said, what happened? And she says, we were telling jokes, you were being funny, and then you just started crying, and I had to leave because you were scaring me. I said, oh God, why? And she says, you were screaming, why wasn't he there? And that hit me dead to rights, because if a man realizes that he's full of shit in the woods and no one's around, he can get up the next morning and go right back to it. But I had been caught in much the same way my father had been caught. And I realized we had something in common that I could not ignore any longer. Thank you.